Let's go. Episode 597 of the Soul Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. And did you know that the governor of New Mexico is crazy? I didn't know. I had no idea. I didn't know at all. This is I saw a couple of you in the comments. You were commenting about how I should speak on this. And then I was like, let me check it out. And then I watched the video and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. This is such an example of how a governor can overreach. You know, we saw an example of it with Hawaii, how the Hawaii governor is deciding to put a stop on all building of anything within the historic land of Lahaina, and he's almost making it seem like the state's going for a land grab. The fact that he even has the power to stop people from going through the proper process of selling their land if they wish, or, just going and building themselves is wild. And this is the same example of craziness. You never know what they can do. She just decided, and again, let me just say this, not to downplay what happened, because what happened is terrible. Someone very young passed away so untimely, and for that to happen to a parent, I know parents that have lost their children, and it's the worst. That's the worst thing. As a parent, there could be nothing worse. You feel like you have one job, to keep your child safe, and when that doesn't go the way you wish and pray, it has to be the worst feeling in the world. It has to be. So not to downplay that. I mean, this child was 11 years old, and I heard there may have been multiple passings. So that's terrible. But just to add on to that, to have this governor think that she could just be like, well, this is a public health concern, and, she's basically punishing, and this is always how it goes, punishing the people who are law-abiding. It is the craziest notion. Let's just get into the story. I got videos to play of her. We're going to play what she said, her opening statements towards all this. Then we're going to play another video of her defending it. Then we're going to go into some articles. And let's just get into it. This is so crazy. And there was one thing that made me really sad that we'll talk about while I'm going through all this. One thing made me really, really upset. Before I bring that to you, though, got to bring you to the store. This is IamCoachColin.com. We got the Public Enemy #1 shirt. You would think a gentleman like this might be behind a governor doing something to the scale of what she's doing, which is why I brand this man Public Enemy #1. Google the World Economic Forum, Google Agenda 2030. You'll understand exactly why he's Public Enemy #1. And we have the shirt that started it all, the first one, the first addition to this site, sold not for sale. Get yours now in white or black. And we have the Certified Pureblood shirt, their certificate of achievement for those of you that stayed strong through the pandemic and stayed untainted and pure of blood. And we have the very last one. Where is it? Oh, that was the last one. And we also have this shirt in color if you so choose. And if you'd like 10% off of anything you just saw, all you have to do is put in the discount code I am Coach Colin. That gets you 10% off. No questions asked. Now remember, it is all capital letters. It is all one word. There's one L in the name Colin, and that gets you 10% off. Now let's get into this absolute nonsense. I'm just going to call her Governor Michelle. I usually butcher the last names of people I respect. She's not even getting a last name butchering, because when I butcher a last name, it means that I'm trying. I'm not doing that. This is just Governor Michelle. Absolutely ridiculous. Let's play what she had to say.
Yes, all the examples you cited are crimes. Kids shooting at other kids, shooting from cars. So what's the value of the civil order? Why not just do better law enforcement?
Both. The value of the order is that it gives me three things. One, it says it's a statewide issue and it's a message to everyone to start leveraging their resources and arresting people. Two, The jurisdictions come at this, including with the DOJ restrictions, differently, without the leveraging and the additional resources, arresting, and where do they go? We got to make sure that everyone is bumping up their services. It's a message to the Metropolitan Detention Center. It's a message to the HMOs. You better figure out treatment. We have been sort of stalled out, to your point. This order basically says, stop stalling out, and to your point, just arrest everyone. Well, I also have to have the ability, I can't arrest everyone. There are literally too many people to arrest.
Well,
This would allow us,
If someone's got a concealed carry permit in Albuquerque walking down a public street, they're not going to get arrested.
I can make the point that maybe they should be.
What? What? This is so crazy. Just right out the gate, she's into the first minute of this. Maybe they should be. And when she says they, she's talking about somebody who has an actual legal permit to carry. The person who took the courses, who got their little certificate, who learned the proper management of how to carry, how to have it in their house, how to have it in their car. They went through everything they were supposed to do as a law-abiding citizen. Paid money to have this right. And she's like, maybe we should arrest them. This is such a odd panic method of handling things. She's basically, I mean, from the opening statement, it's like she just wants to arrest everybody. It's like she doesn't know what to do. How is she equipped for this job? How do these people get these jobs? Okay, we're not even done. This isn't even the worst of what she has to say.
And this is the point. I'm willing to do anything and everything within a shred of evidence-based effort. Because if you're not horrified...
Hold on. I'm sorry, I don't interrupt clips much, but I don't think politicians realize that is so not a thing that you want to hear from your politician. I will do anything and everything to make sure law-abiding citizens get arrested. No, that's not, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. No, I will throw away the Constitution. No, we don't want that. This doesn't sound good to everybody. Who is she trying to impress? This is crazy. This is so crazy. All right, let's keep going. I just need a shred of evidence. If they're walking down the street and they have a left foot and a right foot, let's see if we can arrest them. Let's just try and fill the jails. What's wrong with this woman? This is crazy.
That on any street corner in too many cities in New Mexico, there is someone with a gun sticking out of their waist or their belt. And I'll tell you, if you're a young person, you're not allowed to have a handgun.
Well, it's a crime already.
I got it, but we won't be able to arrest all of them. So imagine, just in a perfect world, if this was upheld, it gives all of these police officers the ability to focus on the real criminals.
Last follow-up.
Yeah. But your point is valid.
You took an oath to the Constitution. Isn't it unconstitutional to say you cannot exercise your carry license?
With one exception, and that is if there's an emergency, and I've declared an emergency for a temporary amount of time, I can invoke additional powers. No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute. There are restrictions on free speech. There are restrictions on my freedoms. In this emergency, this 11-year-old and all these parents who have lost all these children, they deserve my attention to have the debate about whether or not in an emergency we can create a safer environment. Because what about their constitutional rights? I took an oath to uphold those too. And if we ignore this growing problem without being bold, I've said to every other New Mexican, your rights are subrogated to theirs. And they are not, in my view.
Wait a minute. Okay. You're talking about crimes. There are already laws against the crimes, so how are their rights?
I got it. But again, if I'm unsafe, who's standing up for that right? If this climate is so out of control, Somebody should do something. I'm doing as much as I know to do.
Bro, nobody asked you to do all this. For sure, nobody. Not the families, nobody. She's just like, if I'm unsafe, I should be able to void the Constitution. Isn't that how it works? No, you're doing it wrong. You're doing the governor thing wrong. This is not how it works. This is incredible. The fact that she has her feet so dug in the ground about this is just wild to me. That she just thinks, this is fine. I'm unsafe. There's already laws set up. You know, you can't shoot people. Pretty sure that's a law everywhere. Can't just be shooting people. Has to be self-defense. The fact that, and it always goes like this, the fact that this is something that is being thrust upon the law-abiding citizens and not the criminals is just amazing. If you're a criminal, any criminal watching this right now is just like, I like this chick. I like what she has in mind. She's just arresting everybody. This is pretty cool. It's crazy. She's like the reverse of like a purge state. Like, I don't know what's going on in her mind that makes her think she can do this. And the thing about it is, they shouldn't have these powers where they can just go, it's an emergency. Everybody knows what's going to happen if you give somebody, if we're in this one state, you can have extra power and you can push the Constitution aside. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to go, oh, okay, well, it's emergency. I say so. She could use this for any shooting. That means anytime there's a shooting, she can just go, emergency, 30 days. She could, if there was just a violent crime and there was a firearm involved and didn't even go off, she can go, emergency, 30 days. She could just continuously do that throughout the whole year. What's stopping her? The Constitution is what's supposed to stop her. I don't get it. It's crazy. There's only 15 seconds left. Let's play it.
Yep. Do you really think that criminals are going to hear this message and not carry a gun in Albuquerque on the streets for 30 days?
No. But here's what I do think. It's a pretty resounding message.
Wow. Do you think this is going to affect the people that you're trying to affect at all? No, but it's going to send a message to everybody else. What? What is the thinking? Just amazing. There's no way these two guys sitting beside her are backing this up. There's no way. There's no way this guy. You can't be. All right, so I'm going to play another clip of her pretty much doubling down. The fact that she's wearing this weird queen-like amulet on her chest looks like something like she got from the Queen or from Klaus Schwab or something. Let's just play her pretty much defending what she said in the last clip I just played. Let's go. And CNN kind of pushing on her in this clip. Surprisingly, you think CNN's just going to nod their head and say, good job, but they're kind of pushing in a weird way.
Just on one thing, we have the third highest gun-related injuries in the country, 90% higher than the national average. We lost 143 children between 2017 and 2021. It is unacceptable, and it calls for immediate and swift and bold action. And frankly, the evidence bears out over and over again. Fewer guns on the streets makes everyone safer, and I'm focused on everyone's constitutional rights, not just those the NRA says I should be focused on.
Yeah, it's not just the NRA. Here's one other concern from the sheriff. Here's what he told my colleague Caitlin Collins last night.
In a couple of months or a year down the road, we're the ones stuck in court, and we're the ones getting sued over all of these infringement of rights and all these other court battles, when I could be focusing so much more on crime.
Has any law enforcement officer in Albuquerque or the county actually enforced this yet?
Well, we haven't issued any civil penalties, but that doesn't mean that we're not and that we don't have the ability to do that.
But that's
and
a no, right?
This is the pushback I get from every single, well, it's a no this minute, but that doesn't mean that we aren't, and it doesn't mean that we don't have additional police presence. And if not this bold action, making sure that you're safe going to the grocery store, you're safe going to a baseball game, you're safe walking on a hiking trail. There are individuals, including young people, where it's illegal today to have a handgun. Openly carrying handguns. My question to law enforcement is, where are you?
Incredible. Just an astounding lady, this lady. Just astounding. Where are you? Where are you? Where's your brain at? Where are you? What are you thinking as you're doing all this? Oh man. But that is the silver lining. If I switch over here real quick, that is the silver lining. I think this gentleman was the one that they're talking about in this article, because if we go right to the first line, New Mexico sheriff on Monday refused to enforce Governor Michelle's ban on the right to carry firearms in the state's largest city and the surrounding county, saying it's unconstitutional and could spark political violence. In response to the recent passing of a child, the Democrat, Michelle, the Democrat, on Friday imposed a 30-day suspension on blah, 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 blah. But yeah, so he refused, which is fantastic. Amazing. Good for him. Good for him. Good. They should all refuse. That's the example that needs to be set forward. A lot of people don't realize a governor does something like this. The police should, the sheriff, the people in charge that have to enforce it, they should and can refuse. And she knows they can. That's why she's not, digging her heels in the sand, screaming at them, firing them, none of that. They have the right to do that. And then also, when it comes to the law-abiding people who have abide by the law and made sure to do all the things necessary to be able to carry, they can refuse as well. You have that right. That's why there's so much talk about this being unconstitutional, because you actually you have that right. No matter what is said to you, you have the right to. If you went through all of the walls, all of the hurdles, all of the certifications, and you went through all that, you have the right. You have the right to turn to them and say, no, this is the Constitution. I've done everything I'm supposed to do. You can't give me a citation. You 100% have that right. She cannot just say it's an emergency. And again, not downplaying what happened to that child. That's a horrible thing to happen to a child. But you cannot just throw away the Constitution because there's some people that are upset. And honestly, let's be real. If anybody's right now thinking of defending themselves, it has to be the parents of that child. It has to be that family. That family for sure is sitting back thinking, we have to stay armed as possible, I would think. So yeah, this is just more of that, going through that. And basically, I just wanted to show this little exchange that they had. This sheriff, his name is Allen. Sheriff Allen, I believe that's his last name. But this order will do nothing. This is him. This order will do nothing to curb gun violence other than punish law-abiding citizens from their constitutional right to self-defense, Allen said at a news conference. It's unconstitutional, so there's no way we could enforce that order. It's exactly it. When you have a constitutional right, they can't do anything to you. The governor can come on and be crazy and say all sorts of nonsense. They cannot do anything to you. And people really have to remember that, because some people just fall in line with certain things and you don't have to. And then she says, I don't need a lecture on constitutionality from Sheriff Allen. What I need is action. That's what she said. This woman's crazy. This is such an odd story. And just to switch back to the video format that we got going on here, there was protest. There was protest from Republican and Democrat alike, because nobody likes when a governor does something to this extent so quickly with such a flimsy reasoning behind it. Nobody likes that. So let's just play this short clip here.
That's just some of the protests in New Mexico over an emergency order to suspend open and concealed carry laws in the state, meaning you can't have a firearm. Legally, of course, all the criminals will still have firearms. The governor cited recent shootings of young children and called guns a health emergency. Obviously, there's a lot of folks not too happy about that. Albuquerque's sheriff is one of them. He says he won't enforce the ban because it's unconstitutional. Our Next Star affiliate in New Mexico took the governor to task over the infringement on Second Amendment rights.
I think it's time we have a really strong debate about all the other constitutional rights. No one right now in New Mexico, and particularly in Albuquerque, is safe in a movie theater, at a park, at a school, at a grocery store. I think it's time to talk about the absoluteness of the discussion and the current court actions that suggest that the Second Amendment is an absolute right and none of the others are.
Robert Patillo is here, civil rights attorney. Okay, we can all agree that the Second Amendment is not an absolute right. There are restrictions on it.
Now, I know, there's a little bit to laugh at because she's so ridiculous, but at the same time, this is really something to be very aware of. Very, very aware of. When somebody's trying to do something like this, you have to stay vigilant because that's a real issue. A real issue. When governors start saying, well, how much do we have to follow this Constitution? How absolute is it? Robert F. Kennedy was sitting with James O'Keefe, and they were having an interview. I'm not sure if the interview's been released to people who aren't subscribed yet, but I showed a couple of clips of it. And Robert F. Kennedy was talking about how he's like, the Constitution is absolute. He was talking about that. He's like, it is absolute. He's like, there's no emergency that is supposed to be able to override it, which makes sense. I mean, a lot of it is keeping the people empowered and making sure those who are in power can't overstep. So if you can remove that at a certain time, that's calamity. That's pure calamity that's possible when something like that happens. Now, here's what made me really sad about this whole thing. Usually when someone does something like this, the first thing I do, I say, okay, what's their full name? And I just put World Economic Forum right on below that. And here's what really upset me. Nothing came up. That's the saddest part. Nothing came up. At least if Klaus Schwab was controlling her, I'd be like, I get it. It's Klaus. It's Klaus at it again. Here he goes. But she's not in it. She's not in it. Hasn't even been there before. This is just how her brain works. Well, that's even scarier. That's even scarier. This is just how she thinks. She's just like, I think this is the best thing to do. At least if somebody was controlling her, you could be like, she's a puppet. She's not a puppet. That's scary. Very, very scary. That was the thing that worried me the most. Where's Klaus when you need him? Where's public enemy number one when you need him? Oh man, she's I think she's running. I think she's running for election of public enemy number one. I think so. Such a crazy notion. But if you haven't liked the video already, like the video. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments of this. What do you think of someone who's willing to do this? Willing to try to do this? And thank God for this sheriff, for this police force to be like, we're not doing this. Thank God. Because if they just decided to go the old like, oh, we got a job to do, this could have went real bad. Because you're walking up to people who are allowed to carry, and you're trying to give them citations, or worse, doing what she said. She wants you to just try and arrest them. That can turn so bad, so fast, especially when it's someone who's carrying. They're obviously trained, and they didn't do anything wrong. Oh my God, that could turn really bad, really fast. I just don't get it, man. I'm telling you, these Democrats are ridiculous. And usually, like, you look at Chicago's mayor, you look around, it's a lot of young mayors that are just like, you can just say, those young guys. But this lady, she looks like she's 60. She should know better. I don't know. Anyways, guys, other than that, I am out.